They say Hollywood punishes difficult black entertainers. But what if Dave Chappelle wasn't being difficult at all? What if he was just refusing to play the game exactly the way they wanted him to play it? Pick this. You're the biggest name in comedy. Your show breaks cable ratings records. You've got a $50 million contract sitting on the table. Then, you walk away from all of it. The media calls you crazy. They say you had a breakdown. They whisper about drugs and mental illness. But what if walking away was the sanest thing you could do? Dave Chappelle didn't have a breakdown in 2005. He had a breakthrough. He saw exactly how Hollywood uses black entertainers to profit from black pain and stereotypes. He watched executives reward him for content that made white audiences laugh at black people instead of with them. And the moment he said no, the moment he refused to be their dancing puppet, they tried to destroy his reputation and replace him with someone more obedient. This isn't just about one comedian. This is about a system that has been exploiting black artists for generations. A system that gives you fame and money as long as you stay in your lane. But step out of that lane, ask for creative control, demand ownership of your own work. That's when the machine turns against you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what Chappelle discovered inside Hollywood's machinery, how the industry profits from black humiliation, how they strip black artists of ownership the moment they become too valuable, and why walking away from $50 million wasn't crazy at all. It was the most powerful move he could make. Let's go back to 2003. Chappelle's show premieres on Comedy Central. It's unlike anything television has ever seen. Raw, honest, and brilliantly funny. Dave Chappelle and his writing partner Neil Brennan create sketches that hold up a mirror to American racism. The show explodes. Cable ratings records shatter. White college kids start repeating catchphrases from the sketches. Everyone's watching. Everyone's laughing. But here's what most people don't know about those early days. Chappelle was already watching how different audiences were reacting to his comedy. He's telling jokes about race, about stereotypes, about the absurdity of American racism. Some people are laughing because they get the joke. They understand he's exposing the stupidity of racial prejudice. Others are laughing for very different reasons. In his 2006 interview with Time magazine, Chappelle described a moment that changed everything. He's on set, filming a sketch. The sketch is pushing boundaries, playing with racial stereotypes in a way that's supposed to make you uncomfortable, supposed to make you think. Then he hears someone on the crew laughing. Not the right kind of laugh. Not the laugh of someone who gets that this is satire. The laugh of someone who thinks the joke is black people themselves. That laugh haunted him. Because in that moment, Chappelle realized something terrifying. He might be creating content that was meant to fight racism, but some of his audience was using it to reinforce their own prejudices. The very people he was making fun of were missing the point completely. They weren't laughing at racism. They were laughing at black people. But what Chappelle didn't know yet was how much worse it was about to get. Because success in Hollywood comes with a price. And for black entertainers, that price is usually your soul. As Chappelle's show becomes a cultural phenomenon, the network executives start paying attention, really paying attention. They see the ratings, they see the merchandise sales, they see white college students buying Chappelle's show DVDs and repeating his sketches at parties, and they see dollar signs. This is when the pressure starts, subtle at first. Suggestions about which sketches work better, ideas for new characters, pushes toward content that gets the biggest reactions from focus groups. The executives don't say it directly, but the message is clear. More of what makes people laugh the hardest. More of what goes viral. More of what sells. Chappelle starts feeling like he's losing control of his own creation. The show that started as his vision, his commentary on race in America, is slowly being shaped by network demands and audience expectations. And those expectations? They're not pretty. The comedian Donald Bogle wrote a book called Toms, Coons, Mulattoes, Mammies, and Bucks. It's about how Hollywood has always made money by presenting black people as stereotypes for white entertainment. The shuffling fool, the angry threat, the loyal servant. Different faces, same exploitation. Chappelle knew that book. He understood that history, and he was starting to realize he might be trapped in the same cycle. Then comes the contract. $50 million for 2 more seasons. The biggest deal in Comedy Central history. The media calls it a triumph. Dave Chappelle, from the DC comedy clubs to the biggest contract in cable television. The American dream, right? Wrong. Because when Chapelle actually reads the contract, he sees the truth. This isn't a partnership, it's ownership. The network gets his name, his likeness, his creative work. They can air reruns forever and keep all the profits. They can create new content using his characters without his permission. They own Chapelle's show, even though it's called Chapelle's Show. This is the same game Hollywood has played with black artists for decades. Give them just enough money to make them feel successful, but structure the deals so the real wealth stays with the corporations. The record labels that cheated black musicians out of royalties. The movie studios that paid black actors pennies while making millions off their performances. Same playbook, different decade. If you want more hidden stories like this, subscribe to Black Stories Untold. Now, back to what happened when Dave said no. Chapelle signs the contract initially. Production starts on season 3. But something feels wrong. The creative meetings get tenser. The suggestions from executives get more specific. Push this character further. Make that sketch more outrageous. The laughter from that crew member keeps echoing in his head. Then Chapelle starts talking to other people in the industry. Comedians like Paul Mooney, who had worked with Richard Pryor. Mooney tells him the truth about how the industry works. How they build you up as long as you're useful. How they tear you down the moment you ask for too much control. How they've been using black pain as entertainment since the days of minstrel shows, and they're not about to stop now. Richard Pryor went through the same thing. Brilliant comedian, groundbreaking performer, but the studios and networks wanted him to be their version of a black entertainer. When he pushed back, when he demanded creative control, when he tried to tell stories his way instead of their way, suddenly he was difficult to work with. Suddenly he was unreliable. The same pattern, over and over. Chapelle realizes he's at a crossroads. He can keep playing the game, keep taking their money, keep making content that might be feeding the same stereotypes he set out to destroy, or he can walk away. $50 million, the biggest show on cable television. His entire career up to that point. All of it, gone. In May 2005, Dave Chappelle makes his choice. He walks off the set in the middle of filming season 3. He doesn't announce it. He doesn't hold a press conference. He just leaves. Reports come out that he's flown to South Africa. Nobody knows why. Nobody knows if he's coming back. And that's when the machine turns against him. Because if there's one thing Hollywood cannot tolerate, it's a black entertainer who walks away from their money on their own terms. The media response is swift and vicious. Entertainment shows start running stories about Dave's erratic behavior. Tabloids speculate about drug use. Industry insiders whisper about mental breakdowns. The narrative becomes clear. Dave Chappelle lost his mind. He couldn't handle success. He's unstable. He's unreliable. He threw away the opportunity of a lifetime because something's wrong with him. Notice what's happening here. Instead of asking why one of the most intelligent comedians in America would walk away from $50 million, they're questioning his sanity. Instead of examining what he might have discovered about the industry, they're focused on making him look crazy. Because if Dave Chappelle is crazy, then his concerns about the show don't matter. If he's having a breakdown, then his criticism of Hollywood is just delusion. This is the same playbook they use every time a black public figure challenges the system. Question their mental state, suggest they're on drugs, make them look unstable. It shifts the conversation away from their actual concerns and onto their supposed personal problems. Brilliant strategy, really. Disgusting, but brilliant. Meanwhile, Comedy Central has a problem. They've got a $50 million investment and no star. They've got episodes of season 3 that are half finished. They've got advertisers asking questions and fans demanding answers. So they do what the industry always does when a black artist becomes inconvenient. They replace him. The network airs the incomplete season 3 episodes anyway, without Dave's involvement, without his permission. They bring in guest hosts to introduce sketches. They package it as the lost episodes. They make it seem like they're giving fans what they want, even though the actual creator of the show has explicitly walked away from the project.
Think about the audacity of that. Imagine creating something, putting your name on it, then watching someone else profit from it while destroying your vision. That's what they did to Chapelle. And they did it while he was in South Africa.
trying to clear his head and figure out his next move. But that was just the beginning of his punishment. Because Hollywood doesn't just replace you when you walk away. They make sure everyone knows what happens when you bite the hand that feeds you. For the next decade, Chapelle becomes a cautionary tale. The comedian who had everything and threw it away. The man who couldn't handle success. Industry executives point to his story when talking to other Black entertainers. See what happens when you're not grateful? See what happens when you think you're bigger than the system? Chapelle keeps performing. He does small venues, stays out of the spotlight, focuses on stand-up comedy. But the big opportunities don't come. The movie deals dry up. The television offers stop coming. He's been labeled difficult, unreliable, someone who can't be trusted with major investments. Meanwhile, Comedy Central keeps airing Chapelle's show reruns. Every day, multiple times a day. They're making millions off his creative work. And under the contract he signed, Chapelle gets nothing. Not a penny from the syndication deals, not a cent from the DVD sales, not a dollar from the streaming rights. They own it all. This is the genius of the system. They don't have to blacklist you officially. They don't have to make public statements about never working with you again. They just let the market do their work for them. You become a bad investment, a risk, someone who might walk away again. And in an industry built on relationships and reputation, that's enough to keep you out in the cold. But here's what they didn't count on. Dave Chappelle wasn't broken. He was learning, watching, planning his comeback on his own terms. And what he discovered during those years in the wilderness would change everything. Keep watching, because what comes next will blow your mind. In 2016, something shifts in the entertainment landscape. Netflix starts throwing serious money at content creators, not just licensing old shows, but creating new ones. Making deals that give artists more control, more ownership, more respect than traditional networks ever offered. And they come calling for Dave Chappelle. The Netflix deal is everything the Comedy Central contract wasn't. Real partnership, creative control, ownership rights. The kind of deal that recognizes Chapelle as an artist, not just a performer to be exploited. He signs for multiple comedy specials. $60 million, some reports say. More than he walked away from a decade earlier. But this isn't just about the money. This is about power. This is about a Black entertainer finally getting to tell his story on his own terms, without network executives filtering his message or shaping his content for focus groups. In those Netflix specials, Chapelle starts talking openly about what really happened in 2005. No more letting the media control the narrative. No more allowing people to think he had a breakdown. He explains the creative pressures. He describes the contract exploitation. He talks about the moment he realized his comedy might be reinforcing the same stereotypes he set out to destroy. And slowly, the real story starts to come out. The story they didn't want you to hear. Chapelle explains how television contracts are designed to exploit artists, how networks use complex legal language to grab rights to your name, your likeness, your creative work, how they structure deals to look generous up front while keeping the long-term profits for themselves, how they particularly target Black artists who might not have the resources or connections to negotiate better terms. He talks about the media response to his departure, how quickly the narrative shifted from successful comedian makes business decision to unstable performer has mental breakdown, how the entertainment industry uses mental health stigma as a weapon against anyone who challenges their authority. Most importantly, he connects his personal experience to the larger pattern of exploitation in Hollywood. This isn't about Dave Chappelle having bad luck with one contract. This is about a system that has been designed to extract wealth from Black creativity while keeping Black artists dependent and controllable. The response to these revelations is telling. Some media outlets start re-examining their coverage of his 2005 departure. Critics begin acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, walking away from $50 million was a rational response to an irrational situation. The narrative starts to shift from Dave went crazy to Dave was ahead of his time.
But Comedy Central and Viacom CBS are still making money off Chappelle's show, still airing those reruns, still collecting profits from work he created but doesn't own. The exploitation continues, even as Chapelle rebuilds his career on more equitable terms. Then in 2020, Chapelle makes a move that nobody saw coming. He goes directly to his fans. In an Instagram video, he asked people to stop watching Chapelle's show. Don't stream it. Don't buy the DVDs. Don't give the network your money for content they stole from him. The audacity of that request. Think about it. He's asking people not to watch the show that made him famous, the show that's considered his masterpiece. He's willing to sacrifice his own legacy to make a point about ownership and exploitation. And it works. Netflix, which had been streaming Chapelle's show, pulls the series from their platform. They choose to support Chapelle over their licensing deal with Viacom CBS. It's unprecedented, a streaming service giving up content because the original creator asked them to. Within months, Viacom CBS comes to the table. After 15 years of profiting from his work without paying him a penny in residuals, they finally negotiate a settlement. The details aren't public, but Chapelle announces that he's gotten some measure of ownership and compensation for the show that bears his name. Victory, right? Justice finally served? Maybe, but here's what you need to understand about the bigger picture. Dave Chappelle's story isn't unique. It's just the one that got the most attention. This is the pattern Hollywood has used for generations. Sign black artists to exploitative contracts, profit from their creativity while keeping them financially dependent. Use media narratives to destroy anyone who pushes back. Replace rebels with more compliant performers. Rinse and repeat. The record labels that cheated black musicians out of royalties for decades, the movie studios that paid black actors a fraction of what their white counterparts made for the same work, the television networks that built empires on black creativity while keeping black executives out of the boardroom. It's all the same system, just with different faces. What makes Chapelle's case special is that he had enough talent, enough intelligence, and enough stubborn pride to fight back effectively. He walked away when walking away hurt. He stayed quiet when they tried to provoke him into saying something stupid. He rebuilt his career on his own terms instead of crawling back and begging for forgiveness. He used his platform to educate people about how the system really works. Most artists don't have those options. Most artists can't afford to turn down life-changing money. Most artists don't have the luxury of spending a decade in the wilderness waiting for better opportunities. Most artists take the exploitative deals because it's better than no deal at all. That's why Chapelle's rebellion matters beyond just his personal story. He proved that it's possible to say no. He showed that you don't have to accept exploitation just because it comes with a big check. He demonstrated that walking away can sometimes be the most powerful move you can make. But more than that, he exposed how the system really works, how they use money as a leash to keep artists compliant, how they use media narratives to punish anyone who gets out of line, how they structure deals to look generous while keeping the real power and wealth for themselves. The moment Dave Chappelle walked off that set in 2005, he wasn't just leaving a television show. He was rejecting an entire system of exploitation. He was choosing his artistic integrity over financial security. He was betting that his talent was valuable enough that he could rebuild on better terms. It took 15 years, but he won that bet. And in winning, he created a roadmap for other artists who find themselves in similar situations. You don't have to accept exploitation just because everyone else does.